Okay, so in this project, I have given you several test files. Data 1 in, data 2 in, and data 3 in. Let's look at those for a minute. I'm just going to click and drag data 1 in up to the top. This is an input file. I'm going to drag data out up to the top as well. This is an output file. And each time you run the program, it's going to rewrite the output data file. If I just scroll up here and just briefly go through this main method. So execution starts at main. This creates a buffered reader. A buffered reader can read from a file. This is the name of the file, okay? Data1.in. That's the file, name of the file that it's reading from. A print writer can write out to a file. So this is how you create a print writer. And data out is the file that we're writing to. In.readLine reads one line of the file, and this integer parseInt, so when you read a line, it reads it as text. An integer parseInt is a way to convert a piece of text that represents an integer to an integer number. And so the first number in these input files is a number that tells me how many things I'm going to read into my array. Double, all doubles, is a new double. So this is how you create an array of something. So double, square brackets, array. This says that this variable, all doubles, is going to hold a bunch of doubles. It equals to, and then we got to create a new object, new, double, and then when we're using new for an array, inside of the square brackets is the number of elements that the array can hold. So we've read in an integer, in this case 10. So this will create an array that's big enough to hold 10 items. And now this for loop, for I equals 0, I less than double count, I plus plus, this is going to read in another line, and this is going to parse it into a double. And so it's going to read the next 10 lines, 1 through 10. These are double values, okay? And it's going to parse them out and store them in each element of the array. So it's going to first read in a number that tells you how big the array is. Then it creates the array, and then it reads in all of the items and fills up the array. And then it reads in a command count. So this input file, the next number tells us how many commands we're going to execute. And it's 7. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 commands, okay? So we're going to go through this loop, command count times. We're going to read in a command, and then if that command equals find max, then it's going to output and call the find max, and it's going to output to the out file. So out.println, remember out is my print writer. It's a lot like system.out.println except without the system dot, right? So if the variable out holds a print writer, we can just say out.println and it will write to that file. And this is calling the find max function, calling the find min function, the find sum, find average. The find val is a little bit different because when we find a value, we have to tell it where the value is. So this is an index of where the value. So if the command equals find value, grab another integer and then execute the find val function. If the command equals find loc, grab two things. There's a value and an error. And then it executes the find loc function. And then before you exit the program, it's got to close the input and output files. It's most important that you close the output file because that file will be left in a bad state if you don't close it, and you won't be able to open it and look at it later. And the input file, similarly, is really fairly important to close any file that you open before your program ends. So to run it, you just make sure that you set this to one of the 3 data files. And so data in, I'll test it with data 1 in. And so if I just hit play, it'll compile and run the program. And yeah, okay, I want to do that. And now if I look at the data out file, it should have rewritten that file. Oh, it tells me, okay, this is the minimum value. So if I look at data 1, is that indeed the smallest value? That looks like the smallest there. Yeah, that's the smallest. So find min works on data 1. So what about data 2? I'm just going to drag data 2 and data 3 up here. And so if I want to test it on data 2, I just change that to a 2 and I run it again. And if I click on data out, it has changed. And you might get a little warning message saying that it's changed, and you'll just click OK. It depends on which version of Eclipse. This particular version isn't warning me. So what does data 2 look like? It's an empty array, and it's finding the sum and finding the location. So finding min doesn't work on an array of size 0. One of the preconditions for find min was that it had at least one element. So for my data 2 in, I didn't even test find sum. Okay, so that's not going to help us much with the thing that we've implemented. What about data 3? If I run it, I click OK. Let's look at data 3. Find min. Yeah, okay, that'd be the second thing in the output. Is my output? Yeah, minimum. Is that the smallest one in the data? Yeah, that'd be the smallest element. Okay, so that's how you would test your program. Go ahead, implement your program, implement all the methods, test them all, zip it up, and submit. Thank you. And have fun.